Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your tarot reader this evening, but I'm an astrologer too. You know, depends on the Friday. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy weekend. We're gonna be doing live readings on the channel this evening. We're gonna be doing tarot readings for you guys who are live hanging out in the chat. Do me a favor, if you guys can see me, give me a thumbs up, like this stream. It lets other people know that we're here and we're live and we're gonna be doing some readings this evening. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name's Candace. I'm a evolutionary and Western astrologer. I work both with the tarot as well as the Sabian symbols to make sense of what's going on out in the cosmos. You can catch me here every Friday. We're here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're live Friday night on the 12th. If you guys are seeing me after the 12th on the 13th or the 14th, please do not send any requests for readings. You are watching the replay. Sometimes we have some confusion. People like to watch the replay and they get excited and they think I'm still here, but I'm probably sleeping. Anyways, I have to kind of reiterate that because, well, Mercury's retrograde. But yeah, we're gonna be doing live readings. So if you guys want to get a reading, we're gonna be doing 1 and 3 card spreads. You guys can get in the queue and secure your reading for a $20 donation for 1 card or $40 donation for a 3 card spread. Up here, there's a QR code. If you scan that, it's gonna take you to my PayPal. Make your donation, and in the memo box, please tell me what your question is. You can give me whatever information you'd like to give me some more insight in terms of what the cards are telling me. I want to say a big thank you to all of you guys who are returning subscribers. If you're new, drop me a hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We are here every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, bringing you guys the up-to-date news of what's going on with the current astro weather. We've got horoscopes, new and full moon reports, and much, much more. And if you didn't already know, I have memberships on my channel. So if you guys like my long form educational content, you can support me as a full-time content creator by looking at my channel memberships. Just a couple of bucks can help support me creating this content full-time. There's 3 different levels. And if you join level 3, you're gonna get a reading once a month. I'm here most every Friday, and you can pick between tarot or astrology. All right, thank you for letting me get all of that out. I know some of you guys are waiting, so I'll give you a roll call and let you know who we have. The benefit of being a level 3 member is we take those readings first, so you don't have to wait as long. So we have a couple of people who are getting readings. Catherine's here, and also Brandy joined level 3. So what's up, Brandy? Let me know if you'd like to cash in on your reading. Other than that, I've got Stacy, Marcia, Melissa, Dorothy, Astro Girly, and Judy. So what's up, guys? Listen for your name. I'll call up a couple different names in advance and let you guys know that your reading is coming up. You'll see me kind of shuffle and pull the cards live. We have some cool above my head shots, so you guys will be able to see it from my perspective as a reader, and we'll talk about what they mean. What's up, Rosie? Hey, Tabitha. What's up, Stewie? And Melissa? What's going on, guys? Candace, I bought a 3 card reading for my wife. She doesn't get off work for another hour. I hope that's okay. You got it. No worries. Just let me know which one that was. Just so I know who that's for. Was it for Melissa? Who was it for? What's up, Brandy? I'll do your reading for you. David's in the house. Who is your wife, Stewie? But she can watch the playback, so just make note of the time when I do the reading, and then you can come back and you can watch this. So if you guys are wanting to get a reading, you get in the queue, scan the QR code. If you guys don't have time to wait, you can come back. Once this video is no longer live, we leave them up so you can come back and you can watch them. And I get a total kick out of people coming back and leaving comments, sometimes weeks later, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what happened. So it's kind of cool. Astro Girly, okay, cool, got it. What's up, Darlene? How's it going? Catherine rejoined, so we're going to be taking her for this month. She's going to get her reading. What's up, Judy? All right, so let's start. We'll take Catherine and then Brandy. Once Brandy lets me know what she wants, we'll do her reading. And then Stacy and Marcia, you guys are also in the queue. We'll leave it open for a little bit. We will let you guys know when we're no longer taking readings. usually leave it open for like 20, 30 minutes, just depends. So this is going to be the reading that I'm going to do for Catherine. All right, Catherine Murray, let's see what these cards have to say for you this week. All right, so it's in this order. Wow, some pretty good cards. We've got the Nine of Cups, the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Swords. All right, so we've got two kind of like court cards here. So this can represent messages, changing situations. This can also be talking about specific people who are kind of coming into your life. But specifically, when we look at what's going on with the Nine of Cups, one of the more positive cards of the deck. For me, this is like the green light card, wishes being granted, emotional fulfillment, some kind of completion, getting what you want, feeling satisfied, right? You see him sitting here with his arms crossed and he's super stoked. There's all this yellow around him, which represents vitality, positively charged situations. So it is saying maybe you've been like hoping or waiting or wishing for something to come to fruition. When I look at the Knight of Cups, this is also a positive card. The elements of cups always deal with water. So there is this connection to emotions. There's also a connection specifically to intuition, literally using your intuition in action. So it can mean that you're focusing more on a positive emotional shift. You're kind of manifesting new connections or new relationships. This can also talk about you like leading with your heart. So there is this kind of forward motion that's going on where you're really focusing on, okay, what does it feel like when my health is improving? What does it feel like when I have emotional support or companionship? Knights can also be people. So this can be somebody who has a connection or an association with the water element. So it can be Scorpios, Pisces, Cancers. I know you're a Scorpio sun, so this can also be talking about really listening to your emotions and paying attention to what they're telling you, that the emotional stuff that's coming up for you right now may be signaling it's time to move forward or it's time to make the necessary emotional changes, leaning into what your gut is telling you. Now then we've got the Knight of Swords. So this can be talking about an air element. So Gemini, Libra, and also Aquarius kind of energies pop up with this. Obviously, being like a Leo rising, this can have connections to relationships because you have Aquarius in your 7th house. It can talk about messages that are coming through, emails, phone calls, text messages, people reaching out and trying to kind of connect with you. So it can mean that emotionally, you're kind of like, I feel like I'm going to hear from somebody. Or there can be this sense of you feeling like, you know what, I'm feeling like very optimistic and positively emotionally charged, like I'm going to reach out to someone or I'm going to take some kind of swift action and put some of these feelings into words. And this isn't a positive way. This isn't negative. Sometimes the swords get a bad rap for being like a bit confrontational or combative, and sometimes, but I think with the Knight of Swords, really what it's saying is that you're thinking and taking those thoughts and putting them into action. So it's almost like you're feeling more emotionally fueled to make decisions, to be assertive, to be brave, to tell somebody what you think, to come out with some kind of information. It might also mean that there is some kind of emotional fulfillment that comes from speaking your mind, telling somebody exactly what you want, what you're looking for, what you need. And it can be about taking chances when it comes to relationship opportunities, collaborations, and working with another person. So if you've been kind of hesitant for asking for help or reaching out to someone, these cards are saying that you should be optimistic and like really proceed forward and like let other people know how you're feeling, because likely you will find that they will meet you with some kind of like action or some kind of support. Whenever I see two knights also, when they're facing each other in a spread, it can also indicate that there is like this sense of like you weighing like two separate elements. So if cups deal more with like emotions and relationships and intuition, and the swords deal more with intellect, information, right? This is more kind of like masculine energy. That there can be a little bit of like a conflict between your head and your heart right now. And there is this side of you that wants something, but you're like, is it good timing? And then there's this side of you that's like, oh, but the heart wants what the heart wants. It can mean that it is possible for these two to work together as long as you're not trying to like intellectualize your feelings or your emotions. Totally makes sense. We're going to be seeing in this next like week as Mercury is retrograding, so that can very much be, the Knight of Swords, the Messenger. It's coming into conjunction with Venus. So for a lot of Scorpios, it can like materialize as, is this working for me? Or do I like working with this person? Or do I like this health practitioner? Or how do I feel about this relationship? And kind of like a decision that's being made. So it does make me feel like you're having to kind of weigh these options and ask yourself what works for you and doesn't work for you. I do feel like there is a way to be able to relay how you're feeling in a very like direct, to the point, getting the message across type of way that's not overly combative. So it's almost like if these emotions are coming up for you, telling you have to take some kind of action, if you're willing to do that and take a chance, likely it's going to play out in your favor, right? So hopefully that's helpful for you, Catherine. Thanks for being a level 3 member. I appreciate it. What's up, Sandy? Hey, Rosie. Hey, Bia. All right, so let's take Brandy. Let's see what Brandy says. She says, my question is, I've been working on manifesting a generous gentleman caller. Is this something that may be coming my way? I'm an Aquarius sun, Cancer rising, Gemini moon. Okay, cool. So basically a sugar daddy, she says. So let's see if this is something she can manifest. Obviously being like a Cancer rising, having Pluto going into Aquarius in your whole sign 8th house can definitely bring about some opportunities for changes to resources through powerful connections with other people. And remember, Saturn rules your relationships. So part of what you want to watch for is like these aspects between, planets that are in Pisces and Jupiter, Uranus in your 11th house. So it can mean that it is possible that you meet somebody on an online platform. It's possible that it's someone further away, not necessarily like close to you, but like let's see what the cards say. So is Brandy going to find a generous man friend? Is that possible? All right, so in this order, we've got 10 of Wands, 10 of Coins, and the Fool. Well, obviously you're asking about money, right? So anything relating to like abundance and resources and generosity, I like seeing the 10 of Coins. I do feel like the 2 cards that are sandwiching that, which represent, now and where you're going, is kind of an interesting mix, because the 10 of Wands really is about like feeling challenged, or like there have been some blockages or some upheaval. So maybe you're like, where do I find somebody who's looking for the connection that I'm looking for? It can also represent feeling like kind of like heavy in a sense of like responsibilities and things that are going on right now. Like when I think of the 10 of Wands, I think of like challenges in moving and having to pick up and move a bunch of stuff around, right? Obviously you see him carrying all of those wands. But 10s represent completion. So there is this sense of being like, okay, I throw in the towel, like I'm done trying to like provide for myself. Like I'm going to see what other options are out there. It can be also a sense of like letting go of pride and being like, I don't have to do it by myself. I know that there can be some kind of fair exchange or compensation for what I bring to the table. So if you're looking for a connection, I really don't see it being something that's physical. I see it being something with somebody at a distance. And I do feel like, yeah, you're still going to have to dig a little bit to find this. So 10s can kind of indicate that after you've been kind of taking your time or trying, eventually there is some kind of success. Increments of 10, so you might feel like it's like within the next 10 days, 10 weeks, the 10th of a month, something like that is going to kind of come up. And the 10 of Coins also is a card that deals with completion. So you've got 2 10s here. So you're getting creative with how you're handling money and finances. But this is also about like long-term strategy and goals. So it's not like something that you're looking at where you're like, okay, I want to do this forever. But it is saying it would be nice to have a connection with somebody who's going to be reliable, consistent, somebody that I can have an ongoing kind of relationship with. And equally, it may materialize as something that you have to invest into to get something back. Now, obviously, you could be investing time into this relationship, right? If you're being a companion for someone and you're being compensated, it's going to be something that, you know, you're going to have to actually like work on building that kind of connection in order to kind of get paid. But this is a positive card. This is a card that talks about like long-term financial planning, what you're doing with your extra funds, what those resources are actually going towards. So it's not like, I just need some extra money for the next month or so. It's like, okay, let me find somebody I can have this exchange with, somebody that I can kind of build with. And also like you see it as something that's kind of business and transactional. This is a card that is not about emotions. Like you're not trying to find somebody to be serious with, but you do see this as like a business exchange or a business partnership of sorts. It can represent that you're willing to invest a little bit into something in order to get something quality. So I wonder, like, you know, do you go and look at something that's going to be a legitimate, you know, like seeking connection or seeking arrangement type of situation online? Are you willing to go and pay for a profile, right? To find someone who may be serious and more quality for what you're looking for, possibly. It does make me feel like it would be something more professional. So it's not going to be like you're going and meeting, you know, random strangers online. Like it looks like you would be going through some kind of business or some kind of organization that does have some professional sense to it. And it may also in exchange have people who are paying to be able to have access to these profiles, because this is about people who are a little bit more high class. Like the 10 of coins is something that is classy, and it can be also like a little bit more prestigious. So you might be looking into some of those over the next couple of weeks. The Fool card also makes me feel like what may come from this is that you're willing to kind of adventure into this world and like do things that you wouldn't typically do. And maybe that's just, you know, you saying, hey, I'm finally looking for somebody who can kind of be like a benefactor of sorts. But it can also mean that you're like, hey, this is exciting, or this is fun, or I end up kind of having a connection with someone. I don't know why the balloons come up. You end up having a connection with someone that says like, hey, I'll fly you out here to meet me, or I want to take you on a trip, or, you know, come with me, you know, out of town. Like there's going to be some spontaneity to this. I do feel like the Fool card is about going into a situation without feeling limited, and like kind of like tossing all cares to the side and being like, you know what, let's just give this a try and like see what happens. And being very present with the experience and having fun. So, you know, with this card though, it does talk about like being cautious, because as you see the Fool standing there and he's like hopeful for starting this new journey, but he's also like on the precipice of a ledge. So it can also indicate, you know, you're in a situation where you're like, it's going to be great. And it's like reminding you like, yeah, but still be cautious in the process, you know, like don't just meet anybody. Like don't just assume that anything is going to last forever. This is a card that deals with Uranus as well. And so I think about, you know, Jupiter and Uranus coming into conjunction. That is going to be happening as a Cancer rising in your 11th house. So it can mean that you're mixing and mingling with people or groups who are a little bit more well off or kind of like high society. It can also mean that you're connecting with groups of people. And so there may be a sense of being like, okay, well, I might kind of see, is there a couple of different people I talk to until I find something that clicks? Until you have a solid connection basically with Saturn, and you'll see in the fall this year, there will be like eclipses in Pisces, very close to Saturn. There can be much more of a seriousness to relationships. But between now and then, I really feel like the focus is giving it a fair shot, really getting out there, being willing to connect with people who may be at a distance. But don't be surprised if you've got somebody who's trying to fly you somewhere, or they're trying to physically kind of meet and connect with you. And the Fool is saying, well, it can be exciting. Just take into consideration that it may be leading you in a direction that you did not necessarily anticipate going. Sometimes the 10 of coins can be like, I was just trying to find a sugar daddy, and then I end up finding somebody who was like really serious about me, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I wasn't looking for this, you know, because that is about long-term kind of goals and like legacy. So let me know if you find daddy. Definitely report back to us here. Let us know how that goes. Thanks for being a level 3 member. All right, so we're gonna now read for Stacy. So Stacy sent in her reading via email. And then we've got Marcia and Melissa. So if you guys want to join in and get a reading, scan the QR code up here. We're doing 1 card reading or 3 card reading. And you guys can make that donation, or we have super chat as well. All right, so on to Stacy. So Stacy was letting me know there's a lot of things changing in her life. A lot of things are shifting. And she says she probably shouldn't be asking, but she's going to ask anyway. She was asking, is there another relationship on the way? Is there anybody coming? Who, what, where, when, and how? So let's see what the cards say for you, Stacy. Oh, there she is. What's up? All right, so in this order, girl, you gotta clean some house first. We got 2 of Wands, 5 of Coins, 4 of Swords. All right, so there's no relationship cards, there's no court cards, there's no people coming up. These are all minor arcana, so these are energies that are kind of temporary energies. And sometimes when we ask a question about something that we want a definitive answer on, and we get a bunch of minors, it means like, hey, these are the things we have to work through first prior to kind of seeing the end result. I did ask for a confirmation card for you just to make sure that what I'm telling you kind of lines up with what's coming. So the star card being the confirmation card, it's basically saying, hey, you're looking for a major, here's your answer. The star card is about healing. This is about kind of like collecting all the little bits and pieces of yourself and focusing on what your goals are to be able to make what you're trying to manifest possible, okay? Just very simply. So if your goal is, I want a relationship, like that's what I'm hoping to get, it looks like that this wish can be fulfilled, but it is talking about healing things within you or your current situation prior to being able to kind of bring that in. So the cards that you get are the 2 of Wands first, and the 2 of Wands is kind of like standing at the precipice of change, right? We see him standing with a wand on each side, the globe is in his hand, and he's looking towards the coast, and he's like kind of assessing, where am I gonna go? Like, what is my end goal? What am I hoping to achieve? And this is about weighing your options. 2s always kind of feel to me like a fork in the road because it could be this or it could be that. So with the wand energy, it's literally about creativity, self-expression. It's about happiness, joy. This can feel like on one hand, you're really free now to do what you want to do because there's this freedom side to it, right? There's nobody waiting for him. There's no boats waiting for him. Nobody's rushing him. It's like he's free to go and do whatever he wants. So that does tell me that you're clear to enter into a relationship and to actually look. The challenge is that there is still this sense of like, well, is it going to be this or it's going to be that? And really what it's saying in the current position with 5 of Coins is that there is this sense of still feeling disappointed, feeling left out. There is also like clearly something that is kind of hovering around that's about scarcity mindset, or it's like challenges with money. And kind of feeling like, okay, maybe you did recently have a change in your relationship status, or maybe you are now free to do what you want. But as a result of that change, looming in the background is kind of like, well, now I have more financial responsibility for myself, or now I'm changing jobs, or there's something going on that you're like, I'm still trying to kind of figure this out. And like, granted, you want companionship. It's saying that there's something intrinsically tied to either your health, job, or financial situation right now, where you're feeling like you need more. And it's trying to caution you against just throwing yourself into getting into a relationship because you're seeking security. It's basically saying, hold up, before you do that, deal with this situation or be mindful of this situation, because in this card, you see, there's 2 people outside that are homeless essentially, and it's snowing and they're outside of the church and they're wounded and they're hungry and they're cold. So when we're in this card, there can be this sense of being like, oh my God, I would just give anything just to have some attention or some food or some love or just something. So it can create this situation where if you're not tending to some of the issues within yourself, where you're not feeling good enough, abundant, stable, secure, it's almost bringing a situation into your life where you could have somebody come in and you'll feel like you're like grasping at that because you want security so bad. And you may bring somebody in who's not going to treat you the way that you want to be treated, or you're going to bring somebody in who kind of sees that you're kind of in limbo a little bit and you may not feel like you're getting what you need from that person. So be mindful of that. Like, don't have lack mindset. And then the fourth card, which is kind of where you're going, the fourth card is the Four of Swords. So I think of all of the swords, this is probably one of the easiest or kind of better cards to deal with. You know, swords deal with conflict. It deals with communication. It's also about, you know, defense and where we can kind of feel a little on edge. So the Four of Swords is about rest and recuperation, right? So it's kind of like, okay, I am recovering from whatever I've been kind of dealing with. I see that you're saying I still have grief over a loss of losing my relationship and having to sell my house. So the Four of Swords can represent increments of 4. Generally for me, this is like 4 weeks-ish. It can be up to 4 months. But it does mean that there is this sense of being like, I'm making peace with things, right? And so obviously, like, you know, like healing is not linear. You know, we get mad, we get sad, we grieve, we think we're over it, we have euphoria, and then we're like reminiscing and we're kind of repeating the cycle all over. I really feel like the Four of Swords is about you being like, I'm making peace with the current situation, right? And at least getting past like the grieving process and being more like, it happened, there's nothing I can do about it. I really need to be really focused on recovering and like healing and slowing down a little bit. This is a card that comes up with funerals, you know, and it can mean that you're in a position where you're being asked to like literally ritualize and say, you know what, this was the end of one phase of my life. It happened, you know, a little bittersweet, but I am now finally putting this to rest so I can really open myself up and like move on to the next thing, right? And so it's cool that the Star card comes up because it's basically saying like, this is necessary work that needs to happen prior to you being able to bring in this next phase, or prior to you being able to connect with, you know, this next person. The Star card can talk about Aquariuses coming into your life. It can talk about friends and community and other people who can kind of like build you up and make you feel supported and make you feel fulfilled in a platonic way without needing to have a romantic relationship. It's also bringing you back to your goals, and it's about being like, okay, what is it that I'm hoping to achieve? And it looks like really there is some fear revolving around being alone. So in a way, it doesn't have to be about a romantic relationship right now. It can be, I join a new group, I join a new community, I'm hanging out with friends, I'm doing things that's kind of filling in some of these like missing pieces or these gaps. So I'm not jumping into another relationship before I have healed, because it's saying that is what needs to happen before you take the next step. I really feel like this is still a positive reading, so I wouldn't take this as something that's negative. It's just trying to kind of get you to close up some of these chapters before you move on to the next phase, right? So I hope that's helpful, sending you lots of help and good vibes during your healing journey. That definitely seems to be the phase. And we have Marcia and then Melissa. So let's see what Marcia says. She says, I am requesting a 3-card reading. I am a Cancer rising, Sagittarius sun, Gemini moon. He is a Leo rising with his sun in Virgo and his moon in Aquarius. We both have Venus in Scorpio. Does he still love me? All right, well, let's take a look. Definitely lots of changes for relationships with Cancer risings. You guys still have Pluto going back in your 7th. You're going to have 2 full moons this summer in your 7th house. There's still a lot of things that are, it's kind of feeling like relationship stuff is just taking forever to complete, whether that's to kind of come together or really kind of cut the cord. So let's see for you, Marcia, if there is still love there. Oops. There we go. You're welcome, Stacy. I'm glad that was helpful. All right, so in this order, the Lovers card. So we've got the Lovers, the 10 of Swords, and the Page of Swords. Some funky energy here. What's the bottom of the deck? Two of Wands, of course. So truth be told, like, you know, if somebody says to me, you know, do they still love me? You know, is there still love there? And if I pull like the Ace of Cups or like, King of Cups or the Lover's card, you know, I have to say, yes, there is still love there because that's what the cards are reflecting. However, you know, the Lover's card does also represent choices, options, and a situation where you're having to choose between two things. And it doesn't necessarily mean two people. It can mean being in the relationship or being alone. And there is some sense of being like, okay, you know, like what are you willing to do for the person that you love? What work are you willing to do for that person? Because there's some work here, girl. All right. So, you know, that coming up, this is a card that's associated with Gemini. So as we start seeing planets ingress into Gemini, May going into June, that might be a timing period you want to look at. Obviously, it's like a Cancer rising, you know, you're going to have Jupiter going into Gemini. So it's going to be going into your 12th house. It's going to come near your moon, but there's nothing that's really aspecting Saturn. So you need to see something going on with Saturn because it rules your 7th house. We will see in August and also in December, Jupiter in your 12th will square Saturn. So there's the sense of, is it over? Is it not over yet? What are we doing? The 10 of Swords is like completely different polar energy. This is my, you know, put a knife in it, it's done type of energy. Obviously, 10s represent completion. 10 of Swords, we need to figure out what is triggering those balloons because now at this point, I'm just curious. 10 of Swords is quite literally about being like, you know, I feel betrayed, or I feel stabbed in the back, or I feel like I'm never going to be able to get over this. Like, I don't know if I'll ever, you know, emotionally get over it. But it is the card of endings, right? This is like it's saying it's done. So the relationship has ended, but there is still love there. And I think there may be a sense of being like, if we were as connected as we were, how could he do this? You know, how could it end? Like, why isn't he talking to me, right? Page of Swords. I do feel like there may be a sense of feeling like I really love this person, but it's not working. And no matter what we do, any which way we've tried it, it still kind of ends up the same way. You know, the 10 of Swords is somebody still is going to get their feelings hurt, or there is still going to be some kind of drama at the end where it's like, you know what, we keep trying this and it's not working. So it makes me feel like the disconnection is painful for both parties, right? Because the Lover's card is like a mirror. So it's talking about what you feel and what they're feeling. And a sense of disappointment, and also, you know, kind of feeling like, you know, I'm at a loss, like we had to separate. Page of Swords coming up makes me feel like there is a strong pull to communicate, but there also is this sense, I feel like, of maybe you or him realizing like reaching out may not be the best option, because if you're reaching out, you're opening that door and you're just kind of continuing that cycle of being like, we get back together and then the problems come back, we don't work through it, and then it ends and then we take space. So there may be some like fear or trepidation in actually communicating. You know, the Page of Swords is a kid. It represents like an immature energy, or you know, an indication that's like, I want to communicate, but I'm not entirely sure how to do that. It has to learn how to communicate in a more efficient way. The confirmation card is the Two of Wands. So this does make me feel like there is a lot of like two or like duality energy here. So it can mean that like both parties are like playing chicken, waiting to see like, okay, is somebody going to reach out to the other person? If they reach out to me, do I respond? Like there's still feelings there. But at the end of the day, it does say that the relationship is ended. It's over, you know, and I'm not saying you can't get back together, but it almost needs to be over because, you know, if you guys do reconnect, there needs to be a conscious understanding that's like, look, these things happened. It hurt. The separation hurt. The things that were said were painful. You know, are we going to be able to get over this and move on? Can we actually fix the problems and like, you know, forgive one another for the things that were said or the decisions that were made? Because if we can't, then there's no point in continuing the same pattern or rehashing the past. Because there's something here that's saying be very cautious about reaching out and opening that door, because if you guys cannot really get over what has happened, it's better off keeping that door closed. Is there love there? Sure, right? But like sometimes, you know, 2 red flags, they're not green, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a positive connection. It means that there is something that keeps coming up that's re-triggering something. So be very cautious about kind of reconnecting, and watch what's happening as you start to see planets that are coming into Gemini, because I think that's going to be like a trigger point. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Marcia. We've got Melissa, Dorothy. Thank you. I'll update the list in just a second and let you guys know who else I have. It's not too late to get a reading. If you guys want to scan the QR code, you can get in the queue. All right, so this is for Melissa. I just had a solar eclipse sextile my ascendant. I'm wondering what message the universe has and would like to prepare me for. All right, so if it's sextiled your ascendant, are you a Gemini rising, or are you an, trying to think what's the other sextile that's going to be happening there? I don't have a chart in front of me. What's your rising sign? Just wondering. I guess Gemini or Aquarius rising. You should be one of the two. But sextiles, 60-degree energies, right? It's feeding positively into each other. So the ascendant is you, your body, the archetype of who you are. So she says, I'm a Gemini rising. So actually, Gemini rising is really interesting because Mercury is very much intertwined with this solar eclipse because Mercury just conjunct the sun. So my perspective of that sextile is like, your goals are now ramping up, new opportunities for friends, networking, socializing, and there is like this awareness of who do I need to be around in order to see my goals come to fruition? You know, who do I need to be talking to? Who am I hanging out with? Where do I need to be getting out and mixing and kind of mingling more? And Gemini risings are all about communication. All right, I'm hoping the 5 of coins is not the card of the evening. Usually we have a card. So we've got 6 of swords, the 5 of coins, and the 7 of swords. So I kind of feel like part of what's going on is like you may be reevaluating the people in your life. You may be reevaluating like who's worth hanging on to and like who's got my back in like times of difficulty and who doesn't. 6 of swords is about being in limbo. Okay, so this can be about kind of going between one phase into another or one social group into another, or maybe you're feeling like you're just in transition in general. This can be a card that also talks about travel and making like, you know, some kind of plans for a trip. But this is about moving on to smoother territory. Okay, so if you feel as if there's been some challenging things that have been going on for you recently, I know a lot of Gemini risings have been like really feeling the pressure of the responsibility at work. And there's been a lot of things also that have been kind of coming up revolving around like, you know, who, like I said, who your people are. So there can be this feeling of wanting to surround yourself with people. So you might be feeling like you're moving away from certain groups or certain connections. Then we have the 5 of coins. So in the current position, it's like, I don't feel like I'm getting what I need, you know, and whether that's like support, whether you're feeling like there is some financial stress going on. I think this is more about wanting to feel like you're going to be where you feel appreciated and where you belong. And, you know, in many ways, this eclipse is also factored in with like a Mercury retrograde, and also, you know, that's very personal for you. So it can mean it's not necessarily about who your friends are. It might be about you going out of your way to be like, I'm proactively trying to be a better friend. Or if I'm not thrilled about the people I'm hanging out with, I'm going to go and find somebody better, or I'm going to start a group, or I'm going to initiate new connections with people independently. So that 5 of coins coming up makes me wonder, like, is there some sense of not feeling like you're getting the support that you need? Are you not feeling welcomed by certain people? Or you feel like it's challenging to make new friends? Like, do you feel a little lonely or isolated, right? That can come up. And then the 7 of swords coming up is a card that talks about difficulty, trust. So this can also kind of indicate that, you know, like during the eclipse and the retrograde, there can be misunderstandings with friends. There can be, you know, like conversations you have online that are kind of taken out of context. There can be miscommunications on phone and things like that. So there can be this feeling of being like, okay, like what is my gut telling me about, you know, what the state of my friendships are right now? And whether or not you can actually like trust some people that you're around. This is a card that generally comes up when somebody's dealing with like dishonesty issues, or somebody that's concealing some kind of truth, or they're not telling you everything. So it's weird because I feel like the 5 and the 7 of swords is about listening to your intuition, and rather than waiting for people to show you, you know, some kind of not so pleasant tendencies, You know, the Seven of Swords is saying, before I even get to that point, I don't want to find out. I'm just going to listen to my gut. Like, if I need to keep it moving and kind of like outgrow certain people, so be it. I can go and make new friends. I can venture into other areas. I don't have to wait until I'm disappointed. Or I don't have to wait until, you know, somebody shows me their true colors. So a lot of it's also about listening to your intuition and like knowing when to be like, all right, I think I'm good here. You know, if this doesn't really feel like it's a vibe for me, then I'm going to cut them loose. But definitely being in limbo. So, you know, we just had the Kazemi. I would say give it until the beginning of May. We're going to start feeling the effects of this Mercury retrograde wear off. Very important for you in the next like week or two when Mercury goes direct. It'll go direct and it's going to be very close to the North Node. So by then, at the end of the month, you'll have some kind of understanding of like, okay, these are the people I want to hang out with, or these are my goals, or these are the people I'm networking with. And then you're going to see things that are going to kind of move forward. But in the meantime, listen to your gut. If you're feeling like you're outgrowing people and it's time to kind of get moving, so much of the sextile to your ascendant is to be flexible, be changeable, right? Communicate, make shifts. Jupiter's also going to be coming into, you know, your sign here in just a few months. And so that's also like a restart basically for you. That's going to give you the opportunity to say, you know what, I can travel more. I can have more freedom. I can get into, you know, better relationship with myself. I can attract people to me more easily as well. So I think maybe there's just a little bit of like some of this stuff filtering out for you in the meantime, right? Anyway, I hope that's helpful. But definitely listen to your gut because it's going to tell you whether or not it's time to leave the job, the relationship, the party, all that fun stuff. Good luck to you, Melissa. All right, so we have got Dorothy, and then we'll take Astro Girly and Judy. So Dorothy says, are there any messages coming through about money matters? All right, well, let's take a look. You're welcome. So let's see what the cards say for Dorothy in regards to money matters. In this order, wow, the tarot is just gnarly tonight, guys. 3 of Swords, 7 of Cups, 2 of Wands. All right, well, if you got to pull the 3 of Swords, I'd rather have it in this position than this position. So obviously 3 of Swords can be a difficult card. This is a card of disappointments and challenges, but more in a sense of communicating some of the setbacks or being able to express disappointment or being able to kind of communicate where you're feeling like broken or that there's some kind of situation that's inhibiting you from being able to find like the solution. This is the broken heart card, right? And so it doesn't necessarily talk about money per se, but it is kind of saying that there's been some challenges. Maybe there's been some things going on for you emotionally or personally that has kind of made you feel like a little bit defeated or challenged when it comes to being able to kind of see some kind of clarity in regards to finances. The second card that you get is the 7 of Cups. And so on one hand, in this position, it can indicate that there is a multitude of things in play and that there are several potential options that are kind of being presented to you in terms of increasing your money flow and bringing more money in. I think of this as a card that's like about, you know, like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? It's like, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. So you may be thinking more and being a little bit more creative when it comes to generating more cash flow. It does make me feel like there is a sense of like having to go to the drawing board and kind of work out some of these ideas and figure out like, well, what's actually going to work? And, you know, are there some things that seem like a good idea, but it may not necessarily manifest immediately? There is another side to this card that can be about getting lost in the ideas of things and like having too many irons in the fire. And when we are too overly inundated with worry, stress, ideas, you know, things that we're kind of trying to kind of keep in motion at the same time, I think of like somebody who's juggling and they're like, okay, I can't handle everything at once. So this can be a card that talks about the necessity to kind of have your tunnel vision and like not to be too focused on pie in the sky ways of like, you know, bringing in more money. It does also feel to me that there can be some messages that are relayed to you symbolically, whether this is like in meditation or in your dreams. There can be stuff coming up in your dreams that's like, giving you signs and symbols about what to watch for. And I don't know if you're familiar with like dream interpretation, but I'm just going to give you a couple tips. Generally, most dreams mean the opposite. Okay. So I've had clients come to me and they're like, oh my God, I had a dream that like, somebody died, or I had a dream that, this thing happened or that thing happened that was negative. And it generally has like an inverse meaning. So maybe the Seven of Cups is kind of saying that you're thinking about all of the ways that you could potentially be bringing money in, and you get some sign from the universe that's like, okay, focus on this one. So try not to have too many irons in the fire, but also like listen to your intuition, be creative with the different ways that you can be making money. I think that it's really trying to kind of get you to sit down and think about, how can I do something creative that can like, kind of increase my income. And then we have the Two of Wands. So this is about like, basically narrowing it down to 2 options. It can talk about increments of 2. So 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. And this is basically talking about being presented with an option. So, the world in your hand is basically saying, okay, I've got this opportunity. Am I going to act on it? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I do think that this is going to represent, I'm not going to say like having to go on a journey, but like there's going to be something you're going to have to do to be able to initiate this. So for example, Saturn is right next to my moon right now. My moon is in Pisces. Okay. So, Saturn moon transits, especially in Pisces, it's difficult because you have to quite literally make your dreams a reality, right? So Saturn is that grounding energy, and the moon is our emotional body. It's very complex. So we can feel emotionally down, limited, we can have some home and family struggles. But I really feel like this is really saying, this is about really fine tuning and honing in on your emotional needs, and maybe finding ways to develop better emotional boundaries, or finding ways to really like listen to your intuition to help you make something solid of your dreams, like to make your dreams a reality, basically. Two of Wands with the confirmation of the Knight of Cups does make me feel like you're going to feel very emotionally charged to make a change. And you're going to be like, okay, there's this opportunity that comes up for me to like, go and learn more about this new business, or potentially like launch a side gig, or I've got some kind of online store, some kind of like creative thing that I do. This could even be about like giving advice. Knight of Cups with the Two of Wands is like, okay, do I decide that I want to, do some kind of intuitive readings for people? Literally. I mean, Saturn on your moon can do that. And I do think that for you, it's about like whether or not you're going to really allow yourself to venture into that world of being like, can I do something creative and also enjoy it? Like, is it real? How do I make it real? Stay open to the possibilities. None of these cards are necessarily financial cards, but they are saying that like, when you're really following your creative passion, or when you're doing something that you feel like is emotionally in alignment, something will click. And it's not just about getting a raise, or it's not just about, getting some kind of like temporary support. It's about finding something that you feel like you really align with, that's going to feel emotionally right, and also give you the opportunity to really broaden your horizons and potentially, have some pretty significant changes long-term to your financial situation, right? So I hope that's helpful for you, Dorothy. What's up, Gibson? Yeah, lots of soaks with Saturn on your moon, and foot reflexology, and having to do all the emotional heavy lifting. Regardless of what sign Saturn is in, Saturn has a direct connection to Capricorn, okay, which is always connected to legacy, long-term goals, our career. So it may be that you're looking at trying to do some kind of business stuff relating to like home, or Pisces things that can be helpful in kind of generating, new opportunities. Good luck, Dorothy. Good luck. All right, so we have, we're going to have Astro Girly and Judy. Let me update my list. And we'll leave this open for like another 10 minutes if you guys want to join. Come on. Sorry, guys. PayPal is doing its usual thing, per usual. Oh, I gotta add Alana too. All right, she just emailed me. Alana. All right, let's get this confirmation code, and I'll let you guys know who else I have. Okay. So we're going to take Astro Girly, then we have Judy, I have Alana, Ascended Truth, Rosie, Sandra, Matthew, and am I saying your name correctly? Tricia? Let me know if I'm mispronouncing your name. All right, so let's do Astro Girly and then we'll have Judy. So let's see what Astro Girly has to say. 3 cards. Now let me see, did she have a specific question? I'm pretty sure. Let's see, there we go. She's still at work, she should be home in about 20 minutes. So do you want me to wait or do you want to ask her a question? Okay, all right, I'll wait. Just let me know when she's back. All right, so let's take Judy. Judy says, can I get a 3-card reading on a new relationship? We just met on March 29th. You got it, Judy. Let's take a look. Let's see what's up with this new relationship and what the cards have to say. Trisha, okay, got it. You can send it to Candace, Candace, at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Or you can put it in the chat too. All right, so this is on Judy and this new relationship in this order. So we've got 5 of Cups, Queen of Wands, and the 7 of Wands. Interesting energy. So 5 of Cups in the previous position is interesting. That can talk about having gone through a period where you have felt disappointed in love, or you have been kind of feeling like you're making misconnections, or you have yet to really find anybody recently that you were really interested in. Notice with these cards, there's three cups that are spilled over and then there's 2 behind him. So this is a card that reminds you that if you're like stuck in that state of, you know, being fixated on what you don't have or reminiscing about someone or feeling brokenhearted, it's more challenging to actually like let love in, right? So it's interesting that right behind him is the 2 of Cups. So it says like a new opportunity. So maybe you had to actually walk away from something, or you had to finally let something go or grieve something to be able to let this new person into your life. So that's the past. Right now I have the Queen of Wands and the 7 of Wands. So you're saying you're a Leo rising, Sag moon, and Virgo sun. Okay. You know, obviously, hi, you know, Leo rising, you know, Queen of Wands is this energy that's creative. It's very regal. It's also like very fun and flirty and sexy. And this is about like really feeling excited about something that's starting. This is the element of fire. So the Queen of Wands generally wants to keep the flame alive. Like there is this fixation on like chemistry and creativity and like what you're doing together. It can be that you're really like vibing with the relationship and like you're really enjoying like that this shift in your state of being, or you know, your emotions or how you're reacting to things is actually very positive for you. I feel like the Queen of Wands is also very confident. So like unlike the Queen of Cups, who's a little daydreamy and she's romanticizing things, I kind of see like the Queen of Wands as somebody who has definitely dated before, you know, she's been through some stuff, and she definitely knows that, you know, she knows what she wants. She's not willing to make sacrifices. She's not willing to kind of like lower her standards. So there can be like lots of feeling very confident in terms of this connection. And I also feel like with that 7 of Wands, it's about standing your ground. So I don't know if you're coming into this where you're like, I have a, you know, a list of what I'm looking for, or, you know, I have some kind of goal when it comes to relationships. But I definitely feel like you're going to be respected in this dynamic. I feel like this is going to be somebody who's also still going to chase you a little bit. So there can be this feeling of, you know, even though you're in a new relationship, like you guys are still getting to know each other, you're still dating, like he still has to win you over a little bit. That Queen of Wands with the 7 of Wands means that, you know, you're not necessarily going to like always be available or always make it easy, you know, to see you. You know, there is still a little bit of like playfulness and mysteriousness that kind of comes through with that. And I feel like perhaps it could be that you're a bit guarded. You know, Seven of Wands can be about feeling a little bit guarded and, you know, being in a situation where you're still kind of testing the waters and get to know him, and you're wanting to see if like this is going to be somebody who's really worthy of, you know, letting him in all the way, right? Of like totally being committed to him, or, you know, being super vulnerable with him. And I think it's a good thing. I don't know if this stems from like your past experiences with relationships with that Five of Cups. I feel inclined to tell you, like, don't assume that everything is going to crash and burn. Okay, because there is a fine line between, you know, keeping healthy boundaries and like really kind of being a little standoffish. It is possible that, you know, you're with somebody who really admires you and is actually really interested in you, and you might be kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop, or you're like, what's the catch? You know, that Seven of Wands coming up. And I would say, you know, don't allow yourself to put yourself in a position of repeating past patterns in relationships. You know, you want to be breaking down, you know, anything that is kind of keeping you from love and vulnerability. You don't want to be putting those walls up. So let love in, you know, try to, you know, acknowledge or see when he's being like disarming. I don't think he's going to mind like the feistiness or the challenge, because I feel like that Seven of Wands is somebody who's like, this does not faze me. I'm just gonna keep showing up. I'm gonna keep coming through, and who will kind of jump through the hoops for a period of time, but cut them a little bit of slack. You know, it is possible that somebody really does like you, and I think that you may have a little bit more sway in this than you realize. So if you have felt like in previous relationships, you've been in a situation where, you know, you didn't have the upper hand, right? I think like one of my like best girlfriends always told me, like, you know, you don't want to be the one that's like, you know, super in love with them, because that other person's going to know, you know. I know that sounds terrible, but she was always saying like, you can't let them know that, because once they know, they have that sway. So I see in this situation, there is this sense of like, yeah, really digging this person, but like you're keeping your poker face, right? And you're kind of like, all right, I'm not going to let them know like quite yet, because I want to kind of feel like I have the higher ground here, but I do think it's good. And I would say be open to how this can unfold. Good luck. Oh man, the Mercury retrograde, guys, the Mercury retrograde, it's real. Communication has just been so crazy. And, you know, obviously Mercury is going to retrograde conjunct Venus this week. So there's going to be a lot of like, is it going to work out? Are they coming back? You know, all the twin flame people are going to like come out of the woodwork. All right, so that was for Judy. Let me take Alana, who popped in. So you sent me an email. Hopefully you find this reading. Can we make a note of the time? So I don't know how far we're in, but if we can make a note of the time, that would be helpful, so I can send that to her in an email. So this is for you, Alana. You said it's been one hell of a week. All right, I'm sure we could trade war stories. I love that, Judy. Give us the follow-up. There's the Queen of Wands again. Damn. We've seen a couple repeat cards. All right, Alana. So Tower, Queen of Wands, Three of Wands. I see this as kind of like, you guys remember like the Beyonce Lemonade video where she's like talking about how she's going to like make lemonade out of the situation and she's pissed? That's what this kind of reminds me of. She's got the yellow dress, and then there's the tower, and then it's like, okay, that happened, and this is what we're doing about it, you know? So like a woman on a mission. The Tower card, what can I say? I mean, I feel like so much of April, and I've said this in a lot of my videos, so much of April is like, quite honestly, this is like the oh shit moment, okay? Like 80% of the challenging astrology takes place this month. So we just kind of have to like bear down and get to May. But if the Tower's coming up for you, it's saying like shit's hitting the fan. You know, there's some kind of revelation. There's something that has happened. There is something that's going on where you're like, this is done. There's no fixing this. It's like when you're playing Jenga and, you know, it falls, like the game's over. So when I see the Tower card, it's basically saying there are these realizations that are happening right now where you're like, these things are taking place, and like we have to kind of clear it, because we can't have a solid foundation with something that doesn't feel solid or safe. This can be talking about stuff that's going on with Mars. It can be talking about stuff that's going on also with the eclipse. So obviously there's been something that's happened where you're like, okay, there's no going back. But the Queen of Wands in the current position is about looking at this as an opportunity to be like, now I can rebuild. You know, the purification has happened. So Queen of Wands being in the center position, channeling that energy of fire is being like, I'm not going to make it be about what's fallen apart. I'm going to make it be about what's being birthed, right? And so there can be growing pains right now. There can also be this sense of like this internal awareness of your own personal strength. Queen of Wands gets pissed, right? She can get very angry. And when she's angry, she creates. That's what kind of reminds me of Beyonce. But it makes me think about what's happening right now. And you're like, I'm using this as fuel to be like, I'm going to do something about it. So also the queens are the embodiment of the full mature female energy. So it's handling something like a woman, not like a little girl. It's not about being catty. It's not about having a meltdown. It's about being like, oh yeah, watch this. This is what I'm going to do about it. So that Queen of Wands also at her feet, right? She's got the black cat, which is about the intuition and the intuitively, that message that's probably been coming up for you in the back of your mind. That's like, this thing's going to end. This is going to fall apart. You know, this thing is happening. Like, watch out for this, wait for this. And like, maybe there's a sense of you being like at peace with what's happening and like being in your power because you knew in the back of your mind, you were like, I knew this was inevitable, right? It's kind of like the things that we kind of like fear the most sometimes are the things that are most likely to happen. So I don't know if you're having that moment right now, because that's kind of how it makes me feel. I'm optimistic because we go from black skies and smoke and fire and people falling out of buildings with crowns and all kinds of shit to now we're moving into like yellow. So if you guys study the tarot, the colors have symbolism. They have meaning, right? It's not just what's going on in the picture. If you read it the way that I read it, I kind of read it like a flow chart where we're kind of going from darkness to light, right? And so yellow represents energy, vitality. It is also about joy. It's about creativity. It's about happiness. So actually what seems like a crisis right now is actually a liberation. It's something that's setting you free. And so that Three of Wands is kind of saying like, now you have options and now you're kind of saying, okay, whatever happened, happened. Maybe I felt like there was this like swift kick from the universe that's kind of pushing me along on my path. Now I have to move. Now I have to make a decision. Now I have to make a change, but like rolling with the punches. And Three of Wands is very different than the Two of Wands. It's instead of deliberating and going back and forth, it's being like, okay, and we're doing this, we're going to keep it moving. Not getting stuck in the trauma drama of what's been happening, being more about the solution rather than the problem. Look for increments of 3. Also, you may find that there's support from women who come in that have a lot of like fire energy. So it can be women from like 30 to 40. It can be about you embodying this, but look for like Sagittariuses, Leos, and also Aries that can be kind of leading the way, that can really, I guess, like encourage you to initiate new things, right? Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I hope you find this. It was kind of embedded with the other readings, but good luck. Let me know what happens. All right, so we've got Judy, Sandra, Matthew, and Trisha. Now, I believe reading's closed, so let me just make sure that this is everybody that I got. And Natalie got in there. What's up, Natalie? All right, so let's see what's going on with Rosie. Rosie. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I saw Rosie up here. Let me find her question. I was wondering, she's talking about the balloons. Did you have a particular question for your 3-card reading, Rosie? Let me know. While I'm waiting to hear from you, I'll take Sandra. So once you send me that message, let me know and I'll do your reading. Sandra says, 3-card reading. Taurus Sun, Scorpio rising, 0 degrees, Pisces moon. Well, if you are a Scorpio rising Taurus Sun, If you're at 3 degrees, I would say pay attention because the next full moon is going to be lighting your chart up like a Christmas tree, Sandra. So it's going to be about 2 weeks. There's going to be a 4-degree full moon in Scorpio. So it's going to be in your 7th house of relationships. It's going to oppose your ascendant. So it's some kind of polarity between you and another person. And it's going to square Pluto in the 4th house. So there is a Pluto T-square, which basically means if you've got those Scorpio, Taurus placements, you're going to feel the pressure in regards to emotions, home, family-related things. But let's see what the cards have to say. If there's anything that you need to be aware of. And thank God as Saturn is off of your moon. Are you already feeling a little bit better with that transit? All right, so in this order, whoa, we've got a lot of majors here. Okay, Sandy, I will take you next. All right, so this is for you, my dear. So basically, here's how I see this, right? 3 majors basically means there's big energies that are at play. So the Lovers represents the energy of Gemini. It has a strong affiliation kind of connection to end of May, beginning of June. The Magician card talks about manifestations and things that are changing, specifically in regards to what you're envisioning, what you're kind of trying to make happen. This is also about like shifting and working with manifestations and being able to take ideas and turn them into reality and like using your talents at hand. And then the Hermit card is coming up, and this is talking about like reflections and opportunity to kind of like dig deep. So it's interesting because I feel like there is like this sense with the Pluto square that's going to be about unearthing something. Okay, so something like that is going to be happening for you. Now, I see this as, you know, the Lovers card might talk about feeling like you're having to make decisions in regards to a relationship, or having to make decisions in regards to something that you love or some kind of partnership. The Lovers card is about divine union. So it's about bringing somebody in who's a match for you. It could be the perfect client, the perfect manager, it could be the perfect therapist, but it can also be about romantic love. So the Lovers, when it pops up, it's basically saying part of what's going on right now is like there are some really strong forces at work that are trying to magically, the Magician, align you with what you're hoping to achieve. So the question is, what are you looking for? You know, if you're single and you're like, I really want to meet someone, you know, it's basically the universe's way of being like, there you go. And if you're in a relationship and you're like, okay, you know, there is like this situation that's playing out with home or with family or whatever, it's saying, all right, it's about working together and having creative solutions and really trying to dig deep and figure out what it is that you really want, right? Like the Hermit card is connected to Virgo. It is about health and reflection and being alone and taking time. But really, this is also about turning inward and like really illuminating something that is your biggest belief. It can materialize as taking time to really reflect on where you're at in terms of your relationships and asking yourself, does something need to change? Do we need to shake something up a little bit? You know, is it possible to manifest new opportunities when it comes to a partnership or meeting someone? I see this as a time where if you are single, it's very, very, very ripe with the opportunity of just having somebody fall into your life that checks a lot of the boxes with what you want. And if you're already in a relationship, that it means that creatively you're kind of mixing and like working with your partner and really talking about what you hope can happen in the future, what you're trying to create, what you're manifesting, what kind of a life you're building together. And this may require you to do some sense of like getting really deep down into it and saying to yourself, like, what is it that I want? Okay, you're single, perfect. So this energy it's really good for that. I would look and just keep your eyes out for somebody they may have some really strong like Virgo or Gemini energy. You know, the big Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening in like a week, it's going to happen in your 7th house. So even though you don't have anybody now, single Scorpios, it can be indicating in the months ahead, it's going to materialize as some huge kind of growth period in regards to relationships. Jupiter represents your 5th house whole sign, which is about true love. So if you're single, it's good. I would say get out of the box, you know, maybe make a list if you want to meet somebody of all of the traits that they embody. Right? And like the signs that you're looking for, so you know that it's them. Like this sounds crazy, but write all this stuff down because The Magician card means as above, so below. So if you're really wanting to call in a partnership, think about all the things you want to create. Kind of reminds me of like Practical Magic. You guys remember that movie where she's like a little girl and she's like throwing things into the basket and she's like, he needs to have a star, and he was a sheriff. And then she's like, he needs to have 2 different colored eyes, and like he did, right? And he showed up like she was like 30. So it's kind of like that. You want to be really sitting down and getting very clear about what that person is going to act like, look like, feel like, and then really reflect on it, maybe meditate on it with the Hermit card. And ask yourself, is that something that you're really ready for? And then set that intention out, because it looks like that's going to be something that's like a really big turning point for you. Pretty much May, I would say, through about September, which totally makes sense with the astrology because you're going to have an eclipse in your 5th house around mid-September. The other thing to consider is like, dude, Pluto in your 4th house is saying you, as a Scorpio rising, must unearth all of the gunk from the past, and you must be willing to emotionally clear house. Or maybe it means that you have to leave your house to go out and meet somebody, or maybe it means there is some dramatic shift that happens for you emotionally and then you're ready for it. Or maybe you start saying to yourself, do I need to be like looking at meeting people in other places? You know, that kind of stuff can come up, which can enable you to, you know, connect to somebody, I think, on a deeper level. Anyway, I hope that that's helpful in giving you some insight into that. And I can tell you that stuff does work. If you do make a list, that definitely does work. You just have to keep it somewhere where you're going to see it all the time, you know, or put it under a crystal or something. But generally those lists do manifest, even if it takes a little bit of time. All right, so just checking in with Astro Girly. Just let me know if she shows up. I just wanted to let you know I'm still saving a spot for her. All right, so going back to Rosie. Is Rosie here? There she is. Okay. Rosie says, I'm an Aries rising, Cancer sun, Libra moon. Holy cardinal. Okay, so Aries rising, Cancer sun in the 4th, Libra moon in the 7th, working on my marriage and shadow work on relationships socially too, wanting to help husband financially, eventually not working. What guidance do we have at the moment? Okay, so you're kind of getting hit all over. Eclipses in your 1st house with Chiron, healing the self, south node on your moon. So it's going through some emotional clearing with partnerships. That's awesome, Sandy. Keep up with that vision board. All right, so let's see what info I can give to Rosie as she navigates all of these transits. In regards to shadow work and within relationships and how she can navigate that both socially and with her partnership. You know, the Jupiter-Uranus stuff and all the transits going through your 2nd house is a big building period for you financially. You know, the South Node, it's in Libra, but in recent years, it's also been in Scorpio. So that can represent some changing of finances going on with your partner. So let's take a look in this order. Okay, I think the card of the night is gonna be the Queen of Wands, you guys. Like, I shuffled, and she comes back. So we've got, first of all, let's talk about all these coins here. It's a good sign for finances, health, balance, things like that. Okay, so that's good. But 7 of Coins does talk about hard work, determination, you know, planting seeds, hoping that they're going to come to fruition. I actually don't see these cards as being like, oh, you know, I'm going through a really difficult time in my marriage. I actually really see this energy being more kind of focused on, you know, developing like healthier habits for yourself. You know, 7 of Coins can mean I'm making these changes. I hope that it produces some kind of positive benefits, or I'm making these sacrifices, or I'm tending to the things that I think are actually going to help me grow as a person. This can also mean that you're working hard for the money, right? So it can mean that you're like, okay, I'm hoping that these you know, sacrifices I'm making, or the dedication or the time to bringing in more resources, that it's going to play out. But the good news is that because you have this followed with the Queen of Wands, it's telling me that you have this can-do attitude where it's like, okay, I'm not going to go to worst case scenario. I'm going to see this as like an opportunity, and I'm willing to work hard on myself and also on my relationships. This is a 7. So 7s do deal with Libra. It does talk about what you're putting into things and what you're getting out of them. And so I think It's kind of weird being like a Cancer sun, because you hear all the, you know, transits are about your career. Not really for you, right? It's 10th house to your sun, but it's in your first house, which means it's about your responsibility for yourself, how you're showing up for yourself, and how you're learning to be more assertive, and you're healing your wounds. So you're not projecting that onto other people. You're not taking other people's projections. You're also learning that sometimes it's okay to kind of go your own way. It doesn't mean that you don't want to have friends or that you don't want to be there for your partner, but you're learning to prioritize your own needs. So I do feel like a lot of this is like bettering yourself and like focusing on ways that you can become feeling complete and whole, and not feel like you're needing, you know, another person to kind of like complete that for you. And the Queen of Wands is a great card if you're an Aries rising. This is channeling more of that energy. So even, you know, anybody, doesn't matter where the North Node is, that's what we're doing until the beginning of next year. Nobody really gets to kind of like chill out and like relax a little bit until North Node goes into Pisces. So for like the better part of the next 8 months, like we're still kicking ass and taking names. So that Queen of Wands coming up for you is like, I'm active, I'm taking, you know, accountability, I'm initiating things, like I'm focusing on my happiness, I'm prioritizing my joy. Like it can be about being more physically active as well, and kind of moving your body. So as the South Node's going through Libra, hitting your moon, you're learning that, you know, you don't always have to do things in pairs. You're learning that there can be some emotional clearing with partners. Maybe they're going through some personal change and you're showing up and you're like, okay, I'm in charge now, you know, or I have more responsibility in the first house. The Queen of Wands can handle that. You know, I think that she's also really creative in how she can, you know, make things happen. So rather than looking at it as a crisis, you're like, no, I see this as an opportunity for renewal. It might be about changing jobs. It might be about changing your style. It might be about, you know, finding creative ways to kind of get cash flow rolling, but like she can handle it. She welcomes the challenge. And then the Six of Coins, which is about what you give and what you receive. So it is possible as like an Aries rising that there is this feeling of being disconnected with certain relationships, or as a Cancer sun, you could feel that that disconnection is with your family or with people that you live with. And so I feel like it's interesting because you're getting it from all different angles with that T-square. What you put into relationships is what you get out, right? And what you put into yourself is going to really, really affect your relationship to other people. So it's, once again, this whole, oh, if I'm complaining about relationships being out of balance, you know, what is my part in that? If I'm complaining about having lack of, you know, connection with friends, am I, you know, not making more of an effort? So it is kind of showing you like give and take, you know, it's about kind of rebalancing things. And so there may be some instances where you feel like, you know what, actually I need more. And you may feel like that as an Aries rising. A lot of Aries risings are kind of grappling with going back and forth with being like, well, am I being selfish, you know, or am I just purely self-focused, or am I consumed with my image or my appearance or my own needs? Well, the North Node will do that. For you, it's a combination of that. It's a combination of that on a personal level, but also responsibility for self, because it's 10th house to your sun. So you may feel like there's just more on your shoulders, but the good news is that if you're able to give support, people will appreciate that. It'll better the relationship. And equally, if you need help, or if you're like struggling, or you're like, I just feel burnt out, because you might, with all these T-squares, pace yourself, girl, because by the time we get to, you know, the end of the year, we're going to see Mars go into Cancer, and we're going to see a Mars retrograde, and it's going to square your ascendant and also your 7th house, where there's going to be a sense of, do I move? Do I not move? You know, do we stay in this location? Do we go somewhere else? Am I bringing family in to stay with me, or am I going to stay somewhere else? And it's going to square all of your stuff like a Christmas tree. Okay. I think the last time we had it was like I want to say it was like the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, if I remember correctly. So you might want to think back to what happened with that last phase, because the history will kind of repeat itself. And when that Mars retrograde happens, it's going to start in your 5th house, which is about creativity and happiness, and it's going to oppose Pluto. So there's going to be this sense of being like, I focus on my own goals. I have my own hobbies, you know, and you may break away from certain friendships or other people. And so I would say, really, trust me, pace yourself. From somebody who's Libra rising, and I have a ton of Capricorn, I have an Aries moon, I'm already looking at the rest of the transits this year, and I'm like, the Mars retrograde is going to kick all the cardinal ass. So take your time. There's no need to rush anything right now. Focus on what's going on with you first, and then show up 100% for yourself so that can better relationships. Bingo, she says, I moved in 2009. Watch what happens when Mars goes retrograde. This is going to be wild, because Mars isn't happy in Cancer, and it's going to go over your sun, and it's going to oppose Pluto. and it's going to square your moon. So yeah, likely it was supposed to affect your home or your living situation. So you could see some similar things happening. So just fair warning, you know, but right now, hopefully that's helpful to give you some insight. Good luck. All right, so who else do we have here? We've got Matthew and then Trisha and Natalie. All right, cool. So let's see what Matthew says. Matthew says, hey, Candace, was wondering about the situation with my roommate. I genuinely love her and we've been friends since we were in middle school. We recently got an apartment together and I realized some behaviors I don't love. She frequently talks down to me, especially in front of our friends, and I can't often tell whether her jokes are at my expense or are malicious or not. I also think living together has made the situation more difficult because, for example, I feel like she doesn't like when I have people over, but has people over herself. Will the situation get better, and is there any advice as to what to do? Because I genuinely value our friendship, and I don't always feel that she does the same. I am a Cancer rising, Taurus sun, Libra moon. Okay, so Cancer rising, you have Libra moon in the 4th house. You had the eclipse there, so it's kind of feeling kind of like pushed out of your home or uncomfortable with the woman you're living with. And your Taurus sun in the 11th, so Jupiter and Uranus are going to hit that. So it's about having some turbulence with friends. Now she is a Leo sun, Virgo rising, Aries moon. Ooh, so 8th house moon. So she's having eclipses on her moon, which is making her a little bit more spicy, a little bit more fierce. And she's also having Pluto in opposition to her sun to some extent, which can create some issues with relationship to friends. Watch out around the full moon in Leo, the full moon in Scorpio, which is going to be happening later this month, because that'll kind of like activate some stuff in her chart where it could be showing where there's some uncomfortable things maybe going on with home or living situation. So with that being said, let's see what the cards say in regards to Matthew and the situation with the roommate, Virgo rising, okay, Scorpio moon. So it's in the 3rd house, so she can be a little difficult in terms of communication. So let's see what the cards say for you. Is there a way through it? What does it look like? What's the best recommendation here? Okay, so I've got, it was in this order. Okay, so 3 of Swords, 2 of Swords, Queen of Cups. I kind of feel like this is a matter of like catching her in the right moment and talking about it and clearing the air, okay? So first of all, 3 of Swords is like, obviously the situation is kind of hurting your feelings. Like, you know, the wondering whether or not she's annoyed with people having over aside, that's not the point. There are things that are being said that's hurting your feelings. And like, you can't tell if she's serious or if she's joking, and like, you're not liking the communication or the dynamic, okay? So with the 3 of Swords coming up, it's like, there's a need to pull the swords out and be like, okay, these things have been said, like, I'm kind of, you know, like, I'm approaching the situation in a way that's like, is everything okay? Like, are you upset with me? Like, what's going on? Rather than, you know, harboring those emotions or those feelings, because it's going to perpetuate and it's going to create problems down the road. 2 of Swords is saying, like, you're going back and forth as to whether or not you want to say anything at all. And I don't blame you. I understand. I get it. I feel like personally so much about this retrograde is about, well, do I say things that have been hurting me? Am I going to be upfront with people about what I'm not liking? Obviously, if you've got a Libra moon in the 4th, all of this energy that's going through Aries that's in your 10th house is making you feel disempowered. It's not letting you feel like you have any sense of control or authority or anything. And it feels emotionally uncomfortable because it opposes your moon. That's your chart ruler. So this is going to kind of be in play really for the better part of like the next like month or so until Mercury gets out of shadow. I feel like this is about really sitting and choosing your words wisely in terms of how you approach her, and really having a conversation about being like, is everything okay? Like, you know, like, and like clearing the air. Queen of Cups makes me feel like you can smooth it over. I don't really feel like it's going to be something where you have a conversation and then she gets weird on you, or you guys have like a falling out and then it becomes like difficult to live together. I don't think that's the case. The confirmation card that I got for the Queen of Cups is like a good conversation. Like, this is about being like, I love you, dude. Like, you know, we're super close. Like, I don't ever want to like you know, be in a situation where there's resentment or things that you're not saying. And like, you know, I just want to make sure that we're cool. And I do feel like she will appreciate the fact that you come forward with that sense of being like, I really value our friendship. I don't want to lose that, you know? And I feel like it's good because the Wheel of Fortune is saying it's part of the process. It's something that's divine timing. It's also saying it'll be a good situation. I do kind of get the impression that with the Two of Swords, there can be this sense of like, there are things that go on that may bother her that she doesn't say, but you can kind of tell just in how she can be kind of cross in her demeanor or like in the way that you guys interact with each other. She can be kind of harsh or she'll like shut things down. So there's a need to basically like confront that and be like, is something wrong? Because like, I kind of feel as if like you've been upset with me. Like, are you upset with me? And like put it back in her court. So you give her the opportunity to kind of realize and recognize like you're picking up on what she's putting out there and like that you want to get confirmation. You know, is there something you want to talk about? Is there something that bothers you? Right? Something else that I would say to consider is like, you're still going to have a solar eclipse there at the end of the year. So when you get into like the beginning of October, there will be a solar eclipse in your 4th house with Mercury, which means there's going to be some kind of insight or information that's going to come out about whether or not a living situation, you know, is still kind of working or whether or not something may be changing or something like that. So I kind of feel confident, like likely you will find that, you know, you're going to stay in the living situation, but rather than harboring these feelings and like letting this continue and letting her be passive aggressive, like deal with it head on, because I feel like so much of this retrograde for you is about being put in a position where you have to stand up for yourself and basically be like, dude, what the hell, you know, and not being put in a position where you're feeling like bullied or you're being like bossed around. You can definitely tell there are things I say and do that she doesn't like, but she doesn't say it either. Like we're both doing the same thing. And so here's the thing, right? And I've seen this a million times. Libra moons and 7th house moons will reflect their behavior onto people and vice versa. Right? And so this whole like retrograde and the eclipse, it's in opposition to your moon. So it's creating a full moon. So it's bringing some full moon kind of situation to your home and also making you feel like you don't have authority. So there can be this sense of being like, shit, am I doing the same thing she's doing? And just like sit down and clear the air. I think it'll be good for you guys. And I feel like it's good timing because if you guys do need to hash it out and be like, yeah, I don't want people here, you know, until 3 a.m, or, you know, I like to have a morning routine. I don't want to be disturbed, or like, let's have, you know, like a time where if you want to have the living room or the house on Fridays, like I'll be out or whatever, you know, you find a way to be able to communicate that. So that way you're not living in an environment where you guys just feel like you're just kind of like two ships passing each other in the night. Because that defeats the whole purpose of living with your best friend, right? You don't want to feel like you're kind of there and it's uncomfortable. Yeah, the Libra moon can definitely do that. But I do feel like there's a way to be able to handle that. I think knowing that she's, you know, got a lot of fire in her chart, the best way to kind of like approach her is, you know, in a cool, calm, collected manner. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Matthew. Good luck. All right, so I've got Trisha. I'm going to scale back here, see if I can find that question. Let's see. Did you ask me a specific question, Trisha? What do I need to send where? Okay, so you sent it. I'm trying to find your question. You're going to have to send it to me again because I can't find it. There we go. Virgo rising, Pisces moon, general reading, whatever comes up for love, finances, health, career, love, married 17 years. He's a Pisces rising, Virgo moon. What's next? So let's see what comes up. What's going to get touched on? Love, finances, health, career. Virgo rising with a Pisces moon, and he's a Pisces rising and Virgo moon. That's a good combo. Who's the logical one and who's the crazy one? Just kidding. You guys both have those placements. Flexible. All right, so let's see what's coming up for Trisha. Thanks, Astro Girly. I'll take you in just a second. How was work? That's so cool. Your husband's holding down the fort in the chat. He can have a beer with my husband. We've got Four of Wands, the Star card, and the King of Pentacles. She says, he's logical. I'm crazy. See, I would never admit that. That's your first mistake. Don't let them know that you're not the logical one. So these are awesome cards. Four of Wands talks about celebrations. It talks about opportunities to go and socialize, get together with other people and have some fun. Like for some reason, whenever I see this card, I always think of the spring. Because there's these beautiful, flowers and people are outside, and the Four of Wands represents like going to a concert, going to a show, going to a fair, doing something where it's bringing people together and like celebrating some temporary, situation. So this might focus more on like getting out and doing things with your partner. It might symbolize that there are new things coming that are worthy of celebrating. Especially pertaining to financial or career goals. So you might feel like, hey, I got a call from my office and I'm up for a raise or a status change, or in your case, it could be even your partner, because the King of Pentacles is coming up and it's saying that some kind of goal is being reached, right? The Star card is about something that you have been hoping for and wishing for, and there is going to be some big milestone or something that you're going to be celebrating with other people. King of Pentacles can be about Virgo energy. So it can be about, him especially having a Virgo moon, and some kind of like way of being able to level up when it comes to finances and career. And so I'm wondering, like, is there going to be celebrating somebody's, some father's birthday, or is there going to be some like big work, connection and somebody gets a reward? Like there's something like that that's going to be coming over like the next 4 months. And I also feel like this is about like making time to connect with other people in a social manner, because the Star card does deal with like our relationships to friends, like our collective. So there can be a sense of being like, I want to get out and I want to do something, but I also want to bring my partner along and I want to include him. And so you might kind of have him tag along for something. King of Pentacles can also talk about positive changes and more stability with health. It can also be talking about positive changes in regards to business and financial, sense. There can be a sense of being like, wow, we finally hit this like financial goal, or that investment we made really paid off. And so you guys are saying, you know what, we're going to enjoy the fruit of our labor, or, we're going to savor the fact that we had this like, kind of win, and we're going to celebrate this together. And we're also going to encourage other people to kind of come out and be with us. So really take the opportunity to do that. So a lot of it, I see this is like gratitude and appreciation for what you do have. And if there is any sense of there being a celebration, or there being some kind of like potential like meeting, or somebody is getting some kind of recognition, it looks like that'll be something that you celebrate together, because it looks like his win will be your win as well, right? Really awesome cards. I love that spread. And I think it's positive for health and business. So Astro Girly is here. What is your question, my dear? What is your question? And then I will take Natalie. Let's see what Natalie said. Good luck, Trisha. Did I lose Astro Girly? I don't think I got a question from you. Let me know. I can take Natalie while I'm waiting. I'll take Natalie and I'll come back to Astro Girly. Okay, so Natalie says, hey Candace, my relationship with my partner has been both beautiful and confusing on many fronts the past 2 years. Ultimately, he is extremely steady and sweet, but there are some points of contingency between us that I now realize are beyond resolve. I felt many signs come through signifying this is signifying that is someone else out there for me. However, he is helping me financially with rent and groceries. My work shifted last month. I'm no longer involved with a toxic studio, but I am nowhere near making what I need to make a launch. Is it time to start separating and to figure out with work, or is this a really good relationship for me to stay in? Okay, so one thing I would say, being that you're a Libra rising, is that you do have this solar eclipse in your 7th house of relationships. That in itself means there's like this restart that's happening with relationships. The restart's being delayed because Mercury is retrograde and it rules your 12th house, where you're like, oh, I can't see clearly. What am I doing? Give me some insight. And it's conjunct Chiron, which means, you know, can I heal this issue that I'm having revolving around this relationship and the things that have been kind of becoming aware to me about what's not really working. The other thing to take into consideration is that, you know, by the time Venus in the next couple of days comes in conjunction with Mercury retrograde, there can be a sense of like kind of mincing words. So be careful with communicating. If you do decide to kind of separate, I would say you want to wait until the Mercury retrograde settles and you've made up your mind and you have a plan or a path forward. Sometimes the Mercury retrograde in the 7th house, especially with Chiron being involved, can indicate that you're bringing in a therapist, a healer, somebody who can kind of help be like the middleman between the two of you to help determine whether or not some of these issues can be worked out and like and fixed, right? If there's any solution. And then also you want to watch when Mars goes into Aries. It'll be in a couple of weeks, but when it does, it'll start coming into the same degrees as the eclipse and it'll hit the North Node. So that can be meeting someone new. You can also see that when Mars conjuncts Jupiter, which is going to be in the summer, and it's going to be pretty close to your Venus. So that would indicate you do some training, you do some traveling, like you go somewhere and that you would likely meet someone new. The North Node is strange and mysterious, so we haven't met them yet. So with that being said, let's see what the cards say about, you know, do you stay or do you go? How to navigate the current situation. And let's take a look. The card that I have is the 6 of Swords, the Queen of Wands, the Ace of Wands. There is that Queen of Wands again. I feel like she is definitely the mascot for the evening. Probably what a lot of these like cardinal placements need. You know, the Cancer risings that are like, what am I doing? How do I become more assertive? The Libra risings that are like, how do I initiate change? 6 of Swords for me is kind of a dead giveaway. That King of Wands, that there is like you're planning your exit strategy. It doesn't mean that you're completely committed to leaving, but there is something where you're like, okay, over the next like 6 months or so, like I'm setting things up in a way where if I wanted to leave, I could. This does talk about moving on to something, you know, that is going to be smoother or something that's less mentally taxing or like less stressful. And also this is about, you know, like being escorted away with someone. So it can talk about someone taking you away from this relationship. So I wouldn't worry so much about being like, is there somebody else that I'm not connecting to? Because if you're meant to meet somebody, you're going to meet them. It's not going to matter if you're in a relationship or not. I'm not saying that you should do anything outside of your relationship. I'm just giving you that confirmation. You know, sometimes people do need to physically leave a relationship before the next person comes in. You have to actually like pass go, collect your $200, you know, do your thing. But for you, it may mean that you're experimenting with like having time apart or going and visiting friends or family or being away. And in that process, there can be an opportunity to connect with someone new. You're also coming up as the Queen of Wands. So this is about channeling that energy of being like, I'm not afraid to create change. I am very focused on, you know, new endeavors, entrepreneurship. This can also be about physical activity. This can also be about creative projects and focusing on bringing your idea to life. So in a way, like you're thinking about this from a very strategic point of view where you're like, regardless, I want more independence, right? That's what I want either way. But I would like to know that if I wanted to leave, I could do it in a much smoother way. And it's looking like it could be, you know, within the next 6 months. I will tell you that, you know, this solar eclipse that we had in Aries, it'll be a full moon, but it's not going to be an eclipse.
So likely what you'll find is that this could be something that you're working on for the next 6 months, right? You're kind of getting your ducks in a row, getting things up and running in terms of like your business or your creative stuff, and like feeling like you have the opportunity to have a fresh start and to really be initiating something brand new. Ace of Wands is a great card too. I mean, it makes me wonder, like, is there some sense of feeling like that chemistry or that spark, like, is it gone? You know, because the Six of Swords can be talking about being in limbo right now, but are there things that can bring you guys back together, right? Because that Ace of Wands is saying it's time to initiate more fun, more creativity, more adventure. Like, you really have to ask yourself, are some of the things that are coming up non-negotiables? Or are you really genuinely getting a message that there is another person out there? Because I checked the confirmation card that was at the bottom of the deck. The card that I got for you was the King of Wands. So I always just flip this over just to get confirmation. It is validating what you're saying. Like, yeah, there is another connection that will be made. But you have to ask yourself, is this you wanting to flee the relationship because you're picking up on that? Or is there inherently something wrong? And are there some, like, you know, either red flags or some things that you really can't get over? Figure that out. That's what I'm getting at. And create your exit strategy regardless, because it does look like you want to feel like you're in the relationship because you choose to be in the relationship, not necessarily because you need security. So you're going to be working on that for the better part of like the next 6 months or so. Watch for the fire months, so like April and July, and obviously December. These are going to be big turning points for you, because that Ace of Wands is saying that's when there's going to be new beginnings starting. I feel like the King of Wands coming up with you as a queen is basically saying there's somebody who's kind of calling you in, and maybe there can be like this sudden kind of like pressure, or you're kind of feeling panicked, or you're like, okay, like I got to get things going because I have to kind of, you know, be in like the right position or be in the right place to be able to really connect with that person. That's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling. These are great cards though. You know, maybe it's just a matter of coming to terms with the fact that's like, okay, this is somebody that I have feelings for. And, you know, I'm recognizing and realizing that this is a relationship that is running its course. And knowing that you don't want to be in a situation where you're feeling bound to this person and you don't have the necessary freedoms. I can see that you would want out sooner, okay? And I would say the only way out of that with the Queen of Wands and the Ace of Wands is if you're doing some kind of work that's going to allow you to travel, or if you're doing some kind of work that's going to allow you to create or teach or do other things, like this might take you away, literally, you know, Six of Swords, from this relationship and like obviously connect you with someone. So go look at the transits when Mars hits the North Node in Aries. Go look at the transits when Mars comes into conjunction with Uranus. Likely, you know, that in July can be a disruptive period in a relationship. A lot of Libra risings are going to break free from relationships, especially if they feel financially or karmically bound to them. They will be like, nope, no more. And then Mars will eventually meet Jupiter, which, you know, for a single woman, that can be an indication of meeting a husband, and that'll be in your 9th house. So that's going to be like in training centers, when you're traveling, if you're going on a long road trip, like you'll end up meeting someone. That's what will happen. And so hopefully that's helpful in kind of giving you some insight on that. And look for other, you know, fire signs that are coming through. So King of Wands could be Aries, or obviously Leo or Sagittarian energies. And like that happening in your 9th house, there's going to be some strong either like Sag or kind of like Aries kind of connection to their personality or like their chart. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, and certainly last but not the least, we've got Astro Girly. Let's see, make sure I'm not missing anybody here. So did you have your question, my dear? There we go. Hey Candace, looking for guidance on next steps for work. I started a job last week and it quickly turned into something different than what I interviewed for, so I left. Should I focus on taking some time off and rest and take care of myself and my health? Should I start my job search again? Should I spend my energy starting something at home? That's my own thing. So you're a Aquarius rising, Capricorn moon, so that's connected to your 12th house, and Aquarius sun. So you're getting blasted, huh, by these Pluto transits. So something I want you to think about as an Aquarius rising is that the North Node's in your 3rd house, right? Which is like, do I find a neighborhood job? Do I start an online store? Do I start something in regards to media, right? You're going to have to look at where your natal Mars is. 2, Pluto's in your sign. So Pluto kind of being somewhere either around your ascendant or your sun is basically a total transformation of self. The stress of all the stuff that's going on with changes with your career can have a huge impact on your body. So be mindful of what your body is telling you. Pay special close attention to what's going to be happening with that full moon in Scorpio, because it's going to be in your 10th house. It's going to square Pluto in your sign, and it's going to oppose the sun in your 4th house. And it may materialize as you being like, I got to quit this job. That may very well happen. The good news is that, Jupiter going into your 5th house this year can be a really great opportunity to start some kind of creative business or to do something that can be online, right? Especially from like home. The other thing that I would say is that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the 4th house is about some kind of major shifts that are happening for you emotionally or within your home. And, Jupiter will bring Aquarius risings good things. So it's going to be connected to your 2nd house ruler. So it can mean maybe you decide to get into property management, or maybe you decide that you want to sell products from home, or you decide that you want to do some kind of customer care from home, or maybe you get into interior design or, real estate. Any of these things might happen. The other thing you want to be mindful of also is that, Pluto rules your career. So Pluto going in and out of Aquarius is about whether or not you're going to make some huge changes to your status in the world in general. You've already been through Pluto on your moon. So, you already know what Pluto transits kind of feel like. Anyway, let's take a look. Let's see. So what do the cards say? Does she stay at the job? Does she start looking for something? Does she take a little bit of time off to rest and recuperate? What should she do? All right, in this order. So essentially, look, you've got a job right now, right? 3 of Coins is coming up, which is saying you're employed, you can stay there, they will keep you there, they will not get rid of you. But at the end of the day, there is this realization that's this does not feel healthy to me. 5 of Coins is coming up again. So it's saying I think eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to go, I don't want to work in a job where I feel like I'm not getting what I need. Whether you don't see room for growth, or you feel like it's an unhealthy environment, or you're not going to make the kind of money that you want to make, or you're feeling like you're not working with supportive people. I think really what's coming up for you is kind of reevaluating and asking yourself is it worth collecting a paycheck doing this kind of a job? And I really feel strongly that you're going to make a decision to be I'm cutting this job, even though it means I'm going to have, limited income, or I'm taking some time without working for a little bit, because you're prioritizing either working and finding a better position with a better team, or this Page of Pentacles can be talking about doing some shadowing, apprenticing, pages learn something new. It can also mean that you're considering some kind of training or some kind of program that's going to give you better developed skills for going into a job that you would want to go into. I don't think it would be very long. So if you do end up kind of taking any time off, we're looking at maybe 3 to 5 weeks. It's not going to be anything crazy. What you're going to gain from this is not just better physical health, it's better emotional health. Because I get the impression with 3 of Coins and, the Page of Coins, this sense of really being focused on being employed and just taking something for the sake of taking something, you're getting burned out if this is the cycle that you're going through. And so I really feel with the 5 of Pentacles, you have to override the fear of, poverty, or not having a steady gig, or not bringing any money right now, because you're prioritizing being I'm going to do something that's going to actually give me more security in the long run. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to learn the necessary skills, or I'm going to be searching until I find something that I actually really feel would be a good fit for me. I'm not going to tell you to not look, but I do kind of feel these cards seem to indicate with all these coins, you're not somebody who usually kind of sits around, right? And if you've got a lot of Aquarius and Capricorn in your chart, you're very Saturnian, which means you're usually always busy. You're always, focused. There is a sense of responsibility and maturity that's always in play. So maybe you're not used to not working. And so that might be a bit of a challenge for you. But what you're going to get from taking a little bit of a break off, I think, is not only finding better matches for you professionally, but I feel like it's going to be very positive for your mental health. And a lot of Aquarius risings and Aquarius suns are going to find themselves being in the heart of being at home more often or being with family more often, because Jupiter and Uranus are at the bottom of your chart. So it's moving through your 4th house, right? And wherever Uranus is where you are. It may mean that you're like, I feel restless and I want to be home all the time. But it can also mean that being home sparks something in you that makes you realize that you can do something that's going to be closer to home. And it doesn't have to materialize as feeling like you have to kind of go out and drag your way through, a job that you're kind of hating. The emotional support that you're going to get, looks like you got somebody around you who's supporting you. King of Cups can be your partner. It can be male family members or other people who are like, look, I've got you. What do you need? I want to make sure you're okay. So you're not burning yourself out. This seems like this is somebody who's sending you a lifeline and being like, look, I'm concerned about you. What can I do to help you? To let you know that you can't be kind of caught in that like rat race of being like, I got to find a job, because you'll just kind of go into a similar situation. So it's trying to get you to focus on quality. I wouldn't feel bad about leaving this, because I feel like at the end of the day, the 5 of coins does not make me feel like there's a lot of room for growth with where you are anyway. So if you decide it's not a fit, it's okay if you want to make a change. And I really feel like within 3 to 5 weeks, you're going to find something that's going to be a better match. And you're also going to have, I think, a renewed sense of emotional well-being that will come from this as well. So I hope that that's helpful. Good luck with the job search. I definitely think it's going to be a good change for you, and start thinking about what you can be investing into that can kind of help you become, I think, even more so desirable in terms of like your professional skills, because that page makes me feel like you're going to do something, or you're going to train in some way, or maybe take time to be like, okay, I'm brushing up on skills or something that's going to make it more likely for you to be employed. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday night. I appreciate it. We are always here on Fridays, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be back here next week. We're going to be doing readings, astrology readings, just in time for that gnarly full moon in Scorpio. So make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell button below. We always post the links early in advance. So if you guys want to join and get a reading, you can save your spot. And I appreciate your guys' likes, comments, shares. Make sure you check out my video that's coming out on Sunday. We're going to talk all about why this next week ahead is the solar eclipse 2.0. This is like part 2 that we're going to see unfold over the next week. We've also got horoscopes and much, much more. So be sure to check out my channel. And if you guys like my content, you like my style of reading, you want to learn tarot, or if you want to learn astrology or book a personal reading with me, check out my links below in the description. Go to beyondtheveiltarot.com. You guys can check out everything that I've got there. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy weekend in Mercury retrograding. I hope it goes smoothly for you guys. I'll catch you all back here next time. Take care.